So this morning we're leaving Diamond Lake Campground. We thought we'd do things a little bit differently today.
We're gonna show you guys how we actually pack up camp. It's something we do all the time. We've done this full time for 4 years now, but we've never really talked about how we actually pack up the camp.
So we're gonna start with showing you guys the inside. Now normally Steph does the inside while I do the outside, and we do it at the same time. But we're gonna show you guys what we do on the inside first. We get the inside packed up, and then we'll show you guys how we do the outside.
Yeah.
Does that sound all right?
Sounds good. All right, honestly, we usually try to have the dishes done the night before because duh, that's responsible, right? When you're trying the habit of getting the sink cleaned out and dishes done before we go to bed, it doesn't always work out. Full transparency, sometimes if we have a short drive and it's non-breakable stuff, I'll just pack it into the sink. But I'm gonna do these dishes real quick so they could be drying while I do the rest of the inside. All right, dishes are done. They can dry a little bit while I'm doing the rest of the inside. So since the dishes are done, soap goes down underneath. Anything that's on top of a surface, so basically anything that's not attached and is sitting on top of something, needs put away. Otherwise, inevitably, it's gonna slide off. Now, motorhomes might be a little bit different because I don't think they shake as much as tow behinds, but for us, tow behind, everything goes off the surface. So everything needs to go off of the surfaces, but obviously I'm not gonna put the dishes up, I just did them. So I'm gonna go ahead, before I do everything in the main living area, go into the bedroom, because it's honestly probably the easiest room. So there's not a ton we do in here. We do have a TV mounted on the wall, but Mike attached a Velcro strip on the back of it, so as long as it's kind of pushed back, it's good to go. If we're really worried about it, we're kind of boondocking out in BLM where it's real bumpy roads or something, we'll take it off and put it on the bed. I do take off the vacuum and put it on the bed too. It's mounted on our wall, but I'm gonna use that a bunch, so I'm just gonna pull it off and throw it on the bed, and then we'll use it here in a minute. So for now, I'm gonna throw her bed up here. We've got a couple new items in the past several months, and one of them is our dehumidifier. So I'm gonna get the dehumidifier. It's on wheels. I'm gonna throw it in here. I'm not gonna throw it, I'm gonna roll it. I'm gonna roll it in here, and then I put Mike's coffee maker in front of it. Seems like a weird place for it.
My coffee maker.
Let's be honest, Mike, it's yours. And then I put her bed back in front of it just to kind of keep that stuff all tucked away. The more stuff you have and the more complicated your rig is, the longer this process is gonna take, and that's okay. Like I said, just take your time. Obviously our setup is a little bit different. Everybody's is a little bit different, but we took out our dinette and put this custom built desk in here. We haven't found a great permanent solution for the desk and chair, but what works for us is just laying it all down. So this part of the desk is actually what I call like the table, and it detaches. I'm gonna lay it down on its side because there have been times we've been on really bumpy roads and it falls over. All right, bathroom. Again, pretty straightforward. We have a nice big vanity, one of the things we love about our 2600 RV, but anything that's on top of it goes in the cabinets or in the drawers just so it won't slide off. We have another dehumidifier in here depending on what kind of weather we're in, so I'll empty that out, put it out. The shower, we really don't have to do much with. We bought command strip shelves and they hold up great. Now, if again, I'm worried about a really bumpy road or the shampoo and conditioner are really full, I might take it off because those shelves come off really easy and just set it in the bottom of the shower, but usually don't do anything. All right, so I usually have some produce hanging and then some produce in a bowl. So I'm just gonna take that off. Obviously we're out of bananas right now, so the banana bungie's a little lonely. And then this goes in the sink usually with my succulents to kind of keep them from sliding around. Really important stuff here. We've heard of this happening. It's never happened to us, but we always put this down because people say it shatters really easily. So that's down. If I let this break,
Do not break that.
I get in trouble. So this goes up in the cabinet. And then I'll dry those dishes, put them up, and that's pretty much everything on the countertops in the camper. Now, even though we have the Dyson and we love our Dyson, I like to take a good old-fashioned broom and just sweep the entire area that the slide's gonna come in on. Important reason is that if there is a rock underneath there that you've missed somehow, your slide is just gonna scrape that across your floor and inevitably probably damage it. Not worth taking the chance. Take the extra 15 seconds and just sweep. So that's pretty much the inside. Now there's a couple little more things that I will do, but since the bulk of it is done without those final checks, let's go outside and check on Mike, see how he's doing with the outside stuff and what he actually does out there.
All right, so the first thing that I do is make sure that everything outside is picked up. So our chairs and stuff like that, it depends on what site we're at and what all we've got out of the truck. So that varies a little bit. We have chairs and tables out. I get those picked up first thing I do. All right, once I get stuff picked up outside of the camper, I can start focusing on getting the stuff that's attached to the camper ready. Now I'm doing this stuff how I normally do it, and you guys need to figure out what works best for you. But the best thing to do is to just do this as many times as you can and figure out what works for you. But this is what works for me. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is take off the stabilizers, and I'm gonna get out my drill here. Actually, I have a socket, a 3/4 inch socket for the drill so that I can get those stabilizer jacks up. Now some of the nice rigs have auto stabilizers and stuff like that, but we're not that fancy. All right, so now that I have the stabilizer jacks up, I'm gonna open up the black tank and go ahead and start flushing it. I do that because I run it for about 15 to 20 minutes to make sure that it's cleaned out, and then I continue doing the rest of my steps. All right, so one thing that I make sure that I do every time, especially when you're under tree coverage, is sweep the roof. Not just the slide, also the roof. That also gives me a chance to get up there and just look around, because I think a lot of times when people have slide covers, they don't even go on the roof very often, which is fine, but it's better for me because I'd like to know if there's anything wrong up there or if I see anything out of place. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the black tank flush because it's been running long enough. And then I'll just have Steph roll in the slide here.
We can't hear you.
Oh, Callie's up there. Callie. Hey, Callie. Can you roll on the slide for me?
Callie's got this one.
All right, Callie's gonna roll on the slide, I guess. Mixing it up for you guys. Thank you, Callie. Callie, always pulling her weight around here. All right, now we have X-Trucks on our camper. So a lot of times if I'm on any sort of decline or incline in a spot, I'll leave the X-Trucks on now. Ever since we were at Blue Springs State Park. If you guys haven't seen that video, I'll put that up here. But if we're on a slight incline or decline, I'll leave those X-Trucks on until we hook up. But we're on a very flat surface, so I'm gonna go ahead and get those off first. Next up is disconnecting the water from the spigot. And the best way that I've found is to turn the water off from the spigot first, and then unscrew it just slightly and let that water drip out just a little bit, and it takes the pressure off the line and it makes it a little bit easier for me to put the hose up. My buddy Josh gave me this mega cuff. This thing's awesome. It just goes right in here and clamps closed. Huh. Isn't that awesome? I'm gonna have to buy like 6 of these for the rest of my cables now. All right, so the water is off and the water hose is disconnected. Just remember, guys, that as you break down camp, you're losing stuff. So I turn the water off, you're losing that freshwater spigot. Now you have to rely on your freshwater tank. So if you're doing stuff inside the camper, just realize that as you're breaking down camp and disconnecting stuff on the inside, you're losing all this. So just something to keep in mind. So we have a quick connect hose on our rig. And it has taken us how long to realize how to actually do this, babe?
4 years.
Like 4 years.
4 years.
So we see people in the grand design groups who complain about this all the time. They complain about disconnecting this hose from the rig. So what we have learned is you turn off your fresh water and then you get your hose in hand and empty out the water and take that pressure off of this. And then when you disconnect it, it doesn't spray you in the face. It has taken us 4 years to realize that.
It used to be whoever lost the bet, whoever lost rock, paper,
Yeah.
scissors had to disconnect it because we got sprayed in the face over and over and over.
Yeah. So if you're ever feeling bad about learning how to RV, we are still learning stuff like almost every time we go camping.
We're like, oh, yeah.
So if you're at a full hookup site or a site that has electricity, you should have a post that's similar to this. Now they're all gonna vary a little bit because sometimes they'll have different amperages and stuff like that. We're on 30 amp and this has a 30 amp breaker right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off that 30 amp breaker. And that completely cuts power to you so you can safely disconnect. Boom. Every camper is a little bit different. Our connection going into the camper is on the back here. Just flip this up. It's got this threaded connection to keep it from disconnecting, which is really nice. You just spin that bad boy off, turn it, disconnect it. Close that cap, and then you can roll this up and put it with all the other stuff that's unorganized in the back of your truck. All right, so I like to save the best or worst for last. That's the sewage hose. So the first thing that I do is I put on disposable gloves. And I've seen a lot of people who don't use gloves. I prefer to wear gloves. And I prefer to wear mechanics gloves because they're a little bit thicker and they last a lot longer. There's nothing worse than putting on gloves and dealing with a sewage hose and having them tear. So I've already turned off the water. So the first thing that I'm actually gonna do is disconnect the flush hose. I'm gonna disconnect the flush hose. What I prefer to do is leave all of this stuff in its own bin. So I have a completely separate bin for all the sewage connections and all the associated accoutrements. And I keep them all together. That way they're not contaminating anything else in the pass-through. All right, now that the flush hose is off, I'm gonna close all our tank valves. We have 3 tank valves on our rig. We have 2 gray tank valves and 1 black tank valve. What's really nice about this rig is that we only have 1 drain valve. So all 3 of those tanks go to 1 central location, so I don't have to have multiple stinky slinkies in multiple locations. The reason I close the valves is to prevent any further leaks from leaking unexpectedly as I'm emptying the hose. So again, this is how I do this. I start at this end and work my way down. So I disconnect this end first, and then as I scrunch up the black tank hose, inevitably there's always a little bit of liquid left in there as I work my way down, and I want to make sure that all that stuff ends up down into the sewage. We bought these bumper caps a while back. This actually fits on the fitting for this sewage hose. It makes a firm connection. And then it has a magnet on the back that connects straight to the back bumper. I was really skeptical about these when we first bought them. We've had them about 3 years now, and they've actually worked really well, so I would highly recommend these. When you're all done here, just make sure you cover this back up. You don't want to be that guy who's going down the road with yours off.
Now that Mike's done with the outside, we'll go back inside, do my final checks, get everything completely shut down in there, then hitch up and do our final checks outside. And then honestly take another few seconds just to reorganize our brains, make sure everything's good to go before we actually start driving. Now generally, as a rule of thumb, I do the inside, Mike does the outside, but that doesn't mean we don't know how to do each other's jobs. It's important in case something happens or in case, heaven forbid, anything changes, you need to know how to do all the jobs around all the camper. So part of our final checks is checking each other's work, and he checks mine on the inside, I check his on the outside to make sure we both completed the jobs and you didn't like forget to snap one of your hitch locks and lose part of your hitch in Oregon.
Oh, so it's my fault that happened?
I did that. Wait, I guess if you didn't check it, it's both of our faults. Another important aspect, it's not one person's fault, it's everybody's. You're in this together. All right, so you guys know we did pretty much everything inside. Honestly, it usually only takes me like 15 to 30 minutes depending on how messy we've been or how many extra steps I have to do. The more slides you have, the more complicated your rig is, the more stuff you have, the longer this process is gonna take you, and that's okay, take your time. But everything should be done in here, but I like to do my final checks. And I do the tap test and the count test. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so tap test. I've already done this in the bedroom. In our 2600 RB, we cannot get to our bedroom with a slide in. That's the only part of the camper we can't. So when I put that slide in, that is completely done. So I've already done my tap test, my touch test, everything. So tap test is literally just making sure that my cabinets are closed. I do this throughout the whole camper, all of my drawers. That one wasn't latched. So you make sure it's latched. There we go. There we go. Everything's good. I'll be honest, we used to take our microwave plate out. We don't do it anymore. It's never broken. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, just telling you what we do. Another important one is the fridge. Our RV fridge has these little push latches, and if it's not completely latched, it can pop open on the road, which it's done. So making sure it's actually closed. With the fridge, I also check and make sure we've moved over from AC to gas. Mic is unplugged. We still have power in here, but we no longer have shoreline, so our fridge is running off propane. Controversial topic. Do you drive with your blinds up or down? I drive with them, well, I don't drive, Mike drives. I ride with them. I ride with them down. I just feel like they bounce less when they're down. Now different models have different type of blinds. Again, figure out what works for your rig and what works for you, but I drive with them down. Before I close the blinds though, I make sure the windows are all shut. We have had them pop open before without being completely latched, and you can get some real dust and dirt in your camper that way. So it's a reminder to myself, the blinds are up, which means I haven't checked the windows. Check the windows, then shut the blinds. Another reason we drive with them closed is if it's a hot summer's day, while you're driving, this thing is just cooking. So when we get to our site, it's a little more insulated. It keeps it a little cooler inside the camper with those shades drawn. I'm a very visual and tactile person. Like, I've learned these things over the years. So as I do the windows, I shut the blinds. As I'm done in a section of the camper, I shut off the lights. So if it's dark, it's done. Cabinets, these ones are a little bit different. Again, the more you add to your camper, the more complicated it can be. We have a drawer here, which is heavy and will slide out if we do not put this in front of it. So I put another curtain rod here just to keep it from sliding out. Close, touch, tap, test, make sure that's back, good to go. Last room, all the lights are off, all the blinds are closed. I know that section of the house is done. Really the only thing in the bathroom other than the cabinets is making sure our door is snapped. Different campers have different types of doors. Ours have sliding doors with button snaps. If those aren't snapped, this will be flying open. I'm pretty much done. Last step will be after we're done outside, I'll have Mike come in and check my work just as a second check, make sure everything's good to go, and then we'll hit the road.
So when we're breaking down camp, we constantly have to get in and out of the pass-throughs. So the last step on the outside is to make sure these pass-throughs are closed and locked. We've had these come open. I've mentioned this before. We've had them come open when we're driving down the road. So key tip is to close and lock your pass-throughs, because that'll prevent any kind of big winds or anything blowing them open. Now some people have those slam locks. Maybe they're more secure than these ones, but these actually have locks on either side, and then they have one in the middle. It's the big lock that you have to actually use a key for. So actually close these, make sure that they are closed, locked, check them, do it on both sides, and then we're off to hitching up the camper. All right, so everything's hooked up, the chocks are up, everything's ready to go. Included in the final walkthrough that we do is checking your tire pressure. If you have a TPMS system, I would still check your tires regularly, but anytime we're going on any sort of trip where we've been sitting for a while, I like to check the tires.
Make sure those are locked, we're good. Make sure everything's closed. Our stove vent. Sometimes I can't reach it and I have to get Mike out here.
I just checked it actually.
It's closed.
It's closed.
Alright. You forgot to shut the door, Mike. Handle in, stairs up. We'll grab the trash in a second. Awnings in. We do have a bike rack. So it's pretty much, we haven't used it. I know that we haven't used it, so I just do a little jiggle check, make sure it's not loose. We're good. Alright, our end caps are on. Stinky Slinky drainage is good to go. Slides in. This side's locked. Like I said, for the inside, I'm very much a tactile and like numbers and touching person. So we got 2 arms, 2 pins, 2 L brackets, 2 chains, the power, the brake, lock, jacks up. We're good. The only other thing that we do on the outside is lights, and we do that right as we're pulling out.
All right, so that's pretty much it. This is how we do it.
Again, don't rush. If you're getting close to that checkout time and you're freaking out, you're panicking, they're gonna kick us out. Just call. Oftentimes they're like, it's no big deal. No one's coming to that spot. Take an extra hour, yada yada. You will find places where they're not that lenient, so have a system in place, but don't panic. That's a big thing.
All right, that pretty much does it, I guess. Let's hit the road.
All right.